CPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high into the lower 40s. North winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low near 30. By Tuesday, partial sunshine develops, high 52 degrees. Wednesday, partly sunny skies, a high around 65. Thursday, chance for storms late, a high of 74. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 31.
Find power and prestige in a brand new Porsche from the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. Browse and test drive our extensive selection, like the 2026 Porsche Macan Electric. Right now, lease the 2026 Macan Electric for only $1049 a month for 39 months. Discover performance like no other when you visit the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park or PorscheExchange.com. $9,999 with signing for qualified buyers. Excludes tax, title, license, and doc fee. No security deposit required. Expires 3/31/26.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Monday morning, progressives, and all the rest. Welcome to the March 23rd, 2026 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and of course, you can email me at richard@WCPT820.com and follow me on all of the socials, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, Substack, Spoutable, and I dropped a new article on Substack over the weekend, so you guys can check that out. And just the quick title of it is MAGA, You Were Lied To by Donald Trump. And I think you guys will appreciate my comments in the article. So head over to my Substack. You can check out the article there. You can share it with people who you think will benefit from reading it, and certainly people who may have been you may have been thinking some of the same things that I put in the article, and you can share that with folks who you know will benefit from it. So there you go. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon. You can get all the good stuff there. And most definitely our featured interviews, Choose Views, featured interviews, Joe Esposito, live, local and progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, It's the Democracy, Stupid, with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other great shows and interviews. Making your way over to heartlandsignal.com is also another great way for you to find articles and information that you can share with the people that you care about. Excuse me. And we have a tremendous number of really good articles that have been posted by our digital, our folks in our digital newsroom on that platform. A lot of state articles and information from Tennessee, from Michigan, folks testifying in Ohio, and the list goes on. So make your way over to heartlandsignal.com and check us out there. Share and share alike. Weekend, first full weekend of spring, and we're off to the races. Weather was pretty good. People were out and about. It's good to see. And that looks like we're going to, kind of hold true this first full week of spring. So excited about that for everybody, particularly those of us in the upper Midwest that deal with the ever-changing temperatures. It is a conversation. I say it's probably a conversation piece more here than it is in probably many other places that I've been, because we deal with such crazy weather, particularly in this part of the Midwest. But glad to see people were out and about and enjoying themselves over the weekend, and just seeing people out. Some folks were out actually riding their bikes and all that good stuff. So good stuff. On today's show, we will be talking on the 7 o'clock hour with Sarah Jones, our good friend from excuse me, PoliticusUSA and the Daily Politicus, and our very own Whitney Randall, who is a U.S. Navy veteran and will be chatting us up in the 7:30 hour, talking a little bit about some of the work that she's done since she's been out of the military, but also getting her thoughts on the work that, or the observations that she's made about how our military is used, and we'll get Whitney's thoughts and observations around that, and some of the work that she's doing with her podcast and all the good things that she's doing for the community. So looking forward to chatting with her in the 7:30 hour. So there you go. That's what's happening on today's show. Gosh, I'm going to wait till after the break to go down this path because I got a lot to say that we can cover in the first hour of the show. So you guys hang with us in that space. But I do want to give a quick shout out to Kristen Kroll and her crew. I had a chance to spend some time chatting with her this weekend, and just want to give her a big shout out. Kristen Kroll, as you know, is one of the guests on our show and speaks very, very clearly about what's fair and what's not when it comes to wealth in America, and everything from our tax policy to our programs that we fund with our tax dollars, and how it's about families, not billionaires. And so had a good chance to hang out with her and get some more of her perspective. So shout out to Kristen and to her crew. That was kind of nice to be able to do that. This week on the show, tomorrow we will be talking with Sean McCann, who's running for office. Senator Sean McCann, who's, I shouldn't say running for office, but in office in Michigan. Jessica Hawk, also known as my teacher face, will be with us tomorrow. And Lavora Barnes from Michigan, who'll be talking about the Democracy Defenders. Kurt Mullett will be with us on Wednesday, along with Qasim Rashid. And then on Thursday, we've got a conversation that we'll be having with Shaughnessy Naughton, and getting into what's happening with folks who are running for office in different parts of the country, particularly those who bring a certain amount of experience and educational knowledge to their campaigns. Friday, Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast will be with us, and Professor Kevin Schultz, the author of Why Everybody Hates White Liberals, Including White Liberals. So got a week of folks that we're looking forward to chatting with. And I know that between Devin and Mike and Henry, the 3 or 4 or 5 of us will keep everything on the rails for you this week. So looking forward to all of our guests being with us. But right now, check this out, progressives.
Say that for
Yes.
voting? Are
Yes.
Do you have any ideas how that's going?
Okay.
As it's hit the Senate?
Really poorly. Okay, let's just start there. The SAVE Act is a voter suppression bill that the Republicans have advanced a couple times. What it would do is it imposes really significant, what they would call voter ID requirements. When you say voter ID to someone around here, they think that just means bring your driver's license. That's not what this is. This requires your passport or your birth certificate to match the current name that you use. So what it would do, in fact, is disenfranchise 69 million American women who are married and change their name or change their name at some point. Tens of millions of Americans don't have a passport. And in this economy, the average working person, they can't afford that $160 to go and get a passport for themselves, much less any voting age eligible adult in their family. This is a bill that passed the House several times this Congress and is waiting for consideration in the Senate. The Freedom Caucus has been doing a heavy lobbying campaign with the president so that the president would pressure Senate Republicans to get rid of the filibuster, do a filibuster carve-out, if you will, to pass the Save America Act. I just want us to really understand that Donald Trump knows that they're losing. Donald Trump's favorability numbers are lower than the first and second impeachments. He is less popular than he has ever been right now because of his failed economic policies, these tariffs, costs are out of control, and the violent, chaotic immigration enforcement that has been right here in Crest Hill. They know that they're losing and they're desperate. We've already seen how far they will go to cheat. And so a lot of people ask, well, do we think that they could play with the elections? Absolutely. I think we have to expect it. You know, if you have not been making calls to our senators, now's the time to start, because this will require a massive national mobilization if they're willing to do that filibuster carve out.
69 million Americans, primarily women, married, and some that are single, actually, believe it or not. But 69 million Americans. We had 89 million folks that didn't vote in the last general election in 2024. Now they want to take away the ability for, and this is what's crazy about it. These are people who have been voting for years, not decades, with the necessary ID and all the things that worked. And now suddenly a bunch of weak A, feckless, let's just say it as it is, white guys in America who are worried about them being the patriarchal leaders of this country are suddenly worried about people voting and who's voting illegally, and being a citizen. It frustrates me in a way because I've said this so many times and I will say it again. It's because of the fact that they're worried about not being in charge. It's nothing more than that. This isn't about people being legally here people legally being able to vote. It's not, because we've never had such a kerfuffle around this until recent years, and it's not because it's something that people haven't been concerned about or something that we haven't worked to deal with in a way that's prudent. It's because these guys know that their power, their numbers, and let's put it this way, their numbers as it relates to power has been waning for years. That has nothing to do with people not being properly registered to vote and their citizens being citizens and eligible to vote. It just doesn't. And we're going to keep talking about this because, you know, this is exactly what folks like Greg Palast talk about. Tom Hartman talks about it. I've talked about it, and many others. It is about one simple thing, and that's preserving white male patriarchy in this country. That's all it's about. I can sit and have a conversation with a dozen different people, and they may have all of the dozen different observations about it. Yeah, but Richard, we've got these people who are legally here, and they're illegally here, and they're voting in our elections, and it always goes back to the people. And then and 9 out of 10 times, maybe 10 out of 10 times, it's someone that's brown. Because I never hear people talking about people that might be here overstaying their visas or whatever the case may be when it comes to voting and citizenship that come from European countries that are not brown-esque or brown countries. It just doesn't happen. So let's stop tippy-toeing around it and pretending like it's not. It's become a thing because a bunch of white guys in America are freaked out about the fact that the country is growing more diverse, and it has been since the inception of our country. That's the reality. But it just goes to show that the level playing field is not something that they want because they're afraid of it. It shows their weakness. It shows their mediocrity, just the way that it is. That's where we are. So let's talk about some of the details around this. They've begun considering and debating what the House passed is known as H.R. 7296. The Senate vote that was taken last week was 51-48. And, of course, to get this to what by the way, I'm sorry, that was Lauren Underwood. That was Congresswoman Lauren Underwood who was in that clip a moment ago. I'm going to cover this when we hit a break. She was talking with a group of her constituents. She's not afraid to do a town hall, by the way. And when she talked about the filibuster carve out, what they're trying to do here is say that for the Senate to pass what the SAVE Act is trying to do, it has to be a 60 vote majority. They don't have the numbers. That would require Democrats to move over to vote for the implementation of the SAVE Act based on the House passing the bill, HR 7296. So what they're trying to do, again, this is, and I'm warming up now of my frustration. They want to change the rules to get this through. They want to do a special carve out where they don't have to get to the 60 vote requirement, and it faces a filibuster. So it's going to make it difficult to pass it because they don't have the numbers. But at the same time, we still have this group of people who want to see folks have their right to vote disenfranchised because of the way in which their name may have changed due to marriage. And so women, listen, y'all got to step up on this one. And I might take some hits from folks saying, "True, why are you isolating women?" Well, I mean, if they come from me as a black man about something that's black-centric, I'm going to stand up and fight for it. So ladies, listen, I got your back on this one. Believe me, I do. But women throughout the country have got to be as loud a voice on this as anybody else. And nobody take that the wrong way. Please take it in the most positive way. And men, we have to stand up with them. That's our responsibility. Whether you're married or single, you know somebody, 1 degree of separation that's going to be affected by this. It might be potentially your mother. It could be your sister. It could be your daughter. And the list goes on of women that's going to be impacted. It might be a coworker that you guys have been friends for decades. So we have to stand up on and fight on this. We can't let this sort of just sleepwalk by us. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Are you feeling burned out in your job? Here's corporate psychologist Patricia Thompson.
There's some typical signs that you want to be looking out for. The first one is low energy or exhaustion. Are you tired all the time? Also, have you lost enthusiasm for your job? A lot of times people will come to hate a job that they previously loved, and it's simply because they're overworking. Has your performance declined? So are you feeling like you're just not trying as hard and you're less engaged on the job? And also, do you have a hard time disconnecting? So are you always complaining about work? Are you always thinking about it in a stressed way? Is it always stressing you out?
She says taking a mental health day off from work can be a good first step.
If you're feeling burnt out and like you need a mental health day, just tell your boss, mention something like, I'm kind of stressed and I feel like I could use a day off so I can get back to being 100%.
With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I love it when I frustrate some people and they just have to do their keyboard warrior work, but rather than pick up the phone and call. Someone said, I said brown countries, and they said that that's being racist and very offensive. So should I apologize to the folks in the room or anybody? I want to know from anybody that is willing to send me a text or call, were you offended by me saying brown countries? And think I need to apologize? I don't think I do, because as a brown person, I can probably speak to and based on what I know about, anyhow. Yeah, I mean, the point I'm making is there isn't an energy coming to stop people that have come from non-brown countries, brown and black countries, when it comes to voting. It's being focused on brown countries, people that have come from, colors, countries of color, ethnic, whatever the word is. But that being said, that's what's happening with this platform, with this conversation around the SAVE Act. It's about protecting white male patriarchy in the United States of America and making sure that people who are here, that have come here from brown countries, say it again, brown countries, one more time, brown countries, gosh, that they don't get to vote, that they'll get to maintain their ability to vote. Brown countries. Oh gosh. All right. Let's keep the train moving this morning. Lordy. All right. So do y'all remember, and I'm sure you do, and we got a number of things to talk about today. So let's do this in the order that we normally do it. We're going to come at this from the perspective of, let's talk about a couple of Choose Views news items. I'm laughing at myself this morning, guys. All right. Choose Views here on March 23rd, 2026. All right, guys. Consumers seek cheaper gas as prices rise amid the Iran war. Gas prices soar due to the ongoing conflict in Iran. Many Americans are actively seeking cheaper fuel options and adjusting their spending habits, according to Bloomberg. Long lines at places like Costco and increased use of apps like Gas Buddy highlight the urgency among consumers to find discounts. In response to rising costs, Americans are also reducing expenditures on groceries and travel, as we said would happen. According to economist Gregory Dacko, when you go from $3.99 to $4.01, even though it's just a marginal increase, there's a psychological effect. And that's so well put. Federal court blocks the Pentagon's press restrictions. The New York Times and one of its reporters scored a legal victory this week as a federal court blocked a Trump administration policy that restricted press access to the Pentagon. Judge Paul Friedman said the policy in question, which was implemented in October of 2025, violated constitutional rights to both free speech and due process, deeming parts of it unconstitutionally vague and discriminatory, which I fully agree with, and thanks for the judge having that kind of insight. Service-oriented tenants now dominate U.S. retail leasing. Retail leasing shifted last year as service-oriented tenants like spas and gyms rented more space than those selling products for the first time ever. The change comes amid the rapid expansion of wellness and fitness establishments, and experts say it's likely to continue. OpenAI plots hiring sprees as the Anthropic gains continue. Sam Altman's OpenAI is set to nearly double its workforce to 8,000 by the end of the year, according to Financial Times reports. They're saying that new staff members will focus on engineering, product development, sales, and research. The ChatGPT maker will also recruit specialists to enhance customer engagement with its tools, according to the Financial Times report. The hiring spree is part of a strategic restructuring of OpenAI's rival Anthropic as they gain popularity with corporate customers. And speaking of work, remote work can help offset the oil price shock, according to the IEA. The International Energy Agency proposed 10 strategies for oil consuming nations to help mitigate the price shock caused by the ongoing conflicts, by the Middle East war. Working remotely and using public transportation are two of the measures that aim to reduce the demand and ease consumer burdens. Since the war in Iran started on February 28th, oil prices have increased by more than 40%. In turn, many Americans are already seeking cheaper fuel options and adjusting their spending habits, according to Bloomberg. So there you go, guys. A couple of quick Choose Views news items on this Monday morning, March 23rd, 2026. Okay. What I wanted to say before we had a couple of quick items is over the weekend, Robert Mueller passed away. And many of you may have seen that he passed away, and people may have one opinion of him or another. But I want to share a little bit of sort of Compare and contrast, I guess you could say. And this was posted by Bishop Talbert Swan. When Charlie Kirk died, Trump and his sycophants demanded punishment for anybody who spoke ill of him. J.D. Vance told people to report folks to their employers. Federal agencies threatened discipline for employees who criticized Kirk by speaking truthfully about his bigotry. Trump even escalated the climate of intimidation by threatening that networks that criticize him too harshly could lose their licenses. Fast forward, Robert Mueller, military veteran, served the country well, passed away. And the president of the United States, Donald Trump, said these words in a tweet that he posted. Trump said, "Good, I'm glad he's dead." So, they want us to be decent. They want us to be obedient. They want us to not oppose and speak our truth. But to have the president of the United States, and I don't listen. Again, this is not me going, "Oh, Donald Trump's so awful." It's the hypocrisy of the whole GOP. Those who are in the administration, the cabinet, and everyone that voted for him. I'm not going to waste time really being upset with Donald Trump. I'll point out the things that he does. But this is on the GOP in its entirety. This is on the entire GOP because they're sitting back like everything else that's going on in the country right now, from the war to tariffs to the crazy bill from last year, the shutdown, the DHS. By the way, our three arms of government are run by our federal arms of government are run by Republicans right now. So this is on them, DHS, TSA, not on the Democrats. But the dude sitting in the White House said he's glad somebody is dead. Represented what we like to say is a patriotic American. So for all the maggots out there and GOP, y'all are cousins, first cousins. All of those people who run around talking about patriots and our soldiers and support our troops and all that statement, all those statements. The dude that is the, quote, commander-in-chief of the military just spoke in one of the most disgusting ways about a former person that you want to describe and revel in as being a patriot. A dude that never served in the military just said this about a former military man that served this country both in the military and once he left in terms of serving the country. And y'all going to sit back and talk about how awful Democrats are. But none of you all are stepping up on a national level. Where are the national voices in the Republican Party saying that was not only out of line, it was flat out disgusting? Where are you guys? See, you're the hypocrites. You're the craven ones, not the Democrats, not the progressive liberal Democrats. When Republicans passed away during Clinton's administration, Obama's administration, and Biden's administration, that opposed them to the nth degree politically, those words you never heard come out of the last three Democratic presidents' mouths. Period. So the GOP, everything that's happening negatively in our country right now is on you squarely. Because if you're going to allow the dude in the White House to say that without challenging him or calling him out, this ugliness is on you. And we as progressive liberal Democrats need to call them out and remind them of that every time we have an opportunity, and stop coming after ourselves and start going after them. Let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. During the Civil War, 11% of the Confederate Army was made up of enslaved men forced to join. One of these men was Robert Smalls. Smalls was a deckhand on the Confederate supply ship known as the Planter. During During his time, Smalls learned as much as he could about navigating the ship so he and others could escape. And on May 13th of 1862, while officers were sleeping, Smalls, along with 16 others, took the planter out of the Charleston harbor, navigating through all 5 checkpoints while heading to open waters looking for the Union blockade. Smalls raised a white flag of surrender, letting Union soldiers board the ship, giving them guns, ammo, and documents about planned Confederate attacks. Being a wealth of information, Smalls was given the role of the Union Navy captain. Stories like Smalls are one of the many factors convincing President Lincoln to allow free African Americans to serve in the Union Army. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high into the lower 40s. North winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low near 30. By Tuesday, partial sunshine develops, high 52 degrees. Wednesday, partly sunny skies, a high around 65. Thursday, chance for storms late, a high of 74. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 31.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I guess a few people were not offended by me referencing brown countries or folks coming from brown countries. So shout out to you guys, Nancy, Lois, 219-773. You all know who you are. Thank you for the commentary, one way or the other. Always like to hear from you. Speaking of that, let's grab a quick call. We got Cassandra in Oak Park. Good morning, retired lady.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
I'm doing okay. What I want to talk about kind of aligns in a broader way with what you've been commentating on. Quickly, the TSA, the front line, the essential workers not getting paid, but we're going to send ICE to help them out, and they're going to get paid.
Yep.
But the other thing that has been gnawing at me all weekend, the Democrats are being played by the Republicans, which is not a surprise. They've been doing it, forever. But this whole survey that the Democrats are putting out, like, what are your, to voters, what's your top 5 issues, let's say? Maybe they've got like 15 things now, which the list has grown in the last 8 or 10 years. And it suddenly occurred to me, well, wait a minute, why do we have to give weight to one thing over another? They're all important. They're all our constitutional rights. And the Republicans have been picking away at it, and now they've got us fighting about what's important for us. But there's no checkbox that says all of the above. I want all of the above. I want you to put the equal weight on everything, get everything back that the Republicans have clawed away at.
Yeah.
And it's been so frustrating because the Democrats are playing into their hand because now those become the negotiating points. Okay, we won't cut Medicare if you let ICE agents keep their mask on.
Yeah. This is Karen Byrne has said this. Others have said it. I'll say it now. We operate, even though we don't have the numbers right now, we have to operate as though we have the numbers. We have to operate on the assumption that we do. And one of the things that has to happen, I believe, Cassandra, is we have to point out that Republicans are negotiating this way. They want, make it public. I've been saying this since Trump was reelected, that now is the time to have press conferences every day talking about how disingenuous, how much BS there is in the Republicans in the House and the Senate and how they're negotiating and out the things that they're trying to take away from people. On the flip side, what the Democrats I wish had done during Biden's term is said, look at all the great things we're doing for you. Now we should take the other approach, which is just the opposite side of that coin, which is look at all the stuff that they're taking away from you and do it readily. So people don't get their undies in a bundle. I know that Democrats talk about it, but I think it should be something talked about every day so that we control the narrative and that we don't use Republican talking points on any level, period. Yeah. And we don't trade things that are good for everybody in the country for crumbs. We just sorry, go ahead.
Well, and to your point, they need to point out which things have been eroded under executive order,
yes,
which is not constitutional.
Yes.
Put them all side by side. Here's what the Congress has done for us, because that was the start of it. Here's what the executive order is doing. And as you say, you will see how that list has grown and is only getting longer.
Yeah.
And then they also need a list that says, Save the Voting Act is voter suppression.
Yeah.
All these things that sound so nice and innocent, give the clear meaning of and the actions that's actually behind that. It's so simple, and it doesn't take a lot of time. All of the information is there, and I guess they think we're going to crawl through the Internet. But we don't have that time because he's always putting something out. They're always throwing some big lie out to deflect from releasing the remainder of the Epstein files.
And talking about, again, it's the Epstein files and all the rest. It's that it's the current situation with what tariffs have done, and now starting this war and all the rest. So it's constant distraction, and it's a lot to kind of take in. And I was asked a question this weekend by a gentleman that I met, and he said, shout out to Aaron, by the way, if you're listening. He said, who is going to be the singular voice? Who is the voice? Who's the person that's the leader, if you will, or that person right now in the Democratic Party? And I said this, and I could be wrong, but I said that right now we probably don't need to wait for someone to ascend and be the one that rides in on the white horse, male or female. I think it has to be all of us talking about this all the time. But most certainly, to your point, Cassandra, and I think this is part of your point, so correct me if I'm wrong, is that the elected officials definitely should all be riding in on white horses, all be saying these things at the same time, because that visual, that power is what I think is going to attract people to get back into the fight to vote. And then the person who is going to be the candidate will emerge.
Yeah.
So,
It's exactly what I'm talking about. They need to do it every day, as you said. But more importantly, when they wake up in the morning, their mantra should be, what good am I going to do today?
Who am I going to serve? What am I going to say that's going to help the most amount of people? Right.
They need to keep themselves that they're there for a better good, and they need to show up.
Yep.
They need to show up, and the talking points, they want to reduce it. No. 20 things have been taken from us. Those are all the talking points. Don't hit me with the top 3. That's like telling me to choose, if I've got 10 children, who are your 3 favorites? No. I want them all. I had them all. I want them all. Yeah. And the same with our rights. And Republicans know that, and they're just dangling it. And you know, Schumer and Jeffries, somebody's got to lead, but they're taking the bait. And then they want to look at us and say, see what we did for you? No, what I see is you're letting stuff, be taken from us.
Yeah, too many. I think, to your point, Cassandra, too many things are falling through the cracks, and let's grab all of them. I think let's just grab all of them, and let's talk about them. And again, every day. That should be the primary concern of every elected official on a national level, Democratic elected official, or folks of the Democratic Party. Okay, today, what's the message going to be that I'm going to put out to not only my constituents but to the rest of the country? And if I were in Hakeem Jeffries' position, I would kind of retool the way that we go about, not necessarily the message, but the way that we go about presenting the message as congressional leaders in the House, at least, to the country on a day-to-day basis. That's be on the affront, be on the aggressive side, be on the attack every day, rather than waiting for the thing to come from the Republican Party and then reacting to it. Does that make sense?
It does, but I have a feeling And I think they may eventually do that, but I think the strategy may be, let's do it closer to election time so it's still fresh. My thing is, say it every day it's fresh.
So it's fresh every day.
And not wait till like 2 months out. No, it needs to start now.
Take a bath every day.
Yes. Be fresh
every day. Oh, Cassandra, I'm so happy that you have retired and you are enjoying this part of your life. You've earned it. And I thank you so much for your contribution to the show. It really means a lot to me.
Well, thank you for always taking my call. Appreciate it.
Have a great day today, okay?
Thank you. You too. I will.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
She's always, she now that she's retired, her brain's probably going, I got more, my brain can be freed up now. I can talk about the stuff every day. So thank you, Cassandra, for your call. Let me read a quick text here. Let me see what we got. Hold on, guys. Be with me. Yeah, this comes from Lois. Robert Mueller has a wife and 2 children who are grieving his death. How absolutely horrible for Trump to publicly air how he feels. When Trump dies... Okay, we'll stop there. We'll stop there. But that's the dude that's sitting in the White House. I struggle with saying that's the president. That's the dude that's sitting in the White House. And again, it's the entire Republican Party, the entire GOP, MAGA clan and cult on all levels. You should be able to call that out. You should actually be able to call that out. And see, this is why, I go back to something that Cassandra just said about Republican talking points. This is why I'm very careful when a Republican kind of gets there. And Karen and I talk about this a lot. Karen Byrne and I talk about this a lot. When a Republican suddenly kind of finds religion and realizes, oh, the Democratic Party was right all along. Excuse me? We were telling you for weeks, months, decades that this is who your party is. And now you suddenly want to get religion. Okay, great. Join the party, sit at the back of the bus, listen and help, but don't think that you're running anything because you all are the ones that ran us in the ditch in the first place. By not standing up to those kinds of things that Trump did with regard to Robert Mueller passing away. That's what you miss, those things. So, Cassandra, thank you for reminding us to talk about not taking the Republican talking points. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about something that she mentioned that's important that we all should be aware of. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Excuse me, miss. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you recommend a bank that offers a full suite of commercial banking products along with excellent service?
Yes, ABOC.
What about a bank that has been in Chicago for more than 100 years and really understands the local business climate?
ABOC.
But I manage a labor union. Can you recommend a bank that really understands how labor unions operate and what banking products they need?
Again, ABOC. ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922 and understands the local business climate better than anyone. ABOC was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders today. So they really understand how unions tick and how their needs may be different. But whether you're with a labor union or another type of business, whether you're large or small or something in between, ABOC will always make you feel like you're their most important customer. Visit ABOC.com to learn more.
Wow, thank you, random person on the street. I'm going to visit ABOC.com today.
Member FDIC. Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show, and thanks for being with us. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be taking your calls and talking to Ray Long, recently retired Chicago Tribune investigative reporter and board member of the Chicago Headline Club, syndicated personal finance columnist and author Terry Savage, and Pat Quinn, former governor of Illinois. Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT Central and AM 820, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. Driving it home, Patty Vasquez this evening will be joined by comedian Bill Gorga. Dr. Lisa Patel, Executive Director of the Medical Society Consortium on Climate and Health. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. Central, WCPT, AM 820 Heartland Signal. Tune in, YouTube, and Facebook tomorrow on Choose Views. As I mentioned, Michigan State Senator Sean McCann, candidate for Congress in the 4th District of Michigan. Jessica Hawk, retired teacher, content creator, also known on social media as My Teacher Face, and Lavora Barnes, political director of Democracy Defenders Fund and former chair of the Michigan Democratic Party, will be with us. Don't forget, we're on Facebook, and we're reading your comments. Yes, we are. So please leave your thoughts, as well as like and share on the page. Find it on Facebook.com/WCPT820. Okay. Some breaking news. According to Politico, it looks as though Trump says the strikes on Iranian energy infrastructure are going to be paused for 5 days amid U.S.-Iran talks. So we'll keep you posted on that. Don't have all the details, but that's one of the notifications that I just received. So we'll keep you posted in terms of what we find out through the course of the day, and maybe we'll have more, to talk about tomorrow in that space. But what I wanted to say before we went to break, Cassandra said this in part as it relates to TSA and ICE. Okay. So we all know that ICE has got a whole bunch of money that was approved as part of the ugly bill, and Republicans are leaning into trying to get them more money, and Democrats are doing their best to hold the line when it comes to ICE. But now what we're finding is that Trump plans to have ICE at airports, and this is to Cassandra's point. They're getting paid, but the people that are part of TSA are not. It's unacceptable. I saw the Denver TSA director on the news, and she talked about the fact that these people who work in this department and work in this area, many of them, and this is just really, really, really heartbreaking. They're having to take second jobs in some cases. People are donating blood to be able to keep their lives. I mean, what kind of lifestyle is? I mean, just they're sleeping in their cars because they can't. And I juxtapose this against, and I want to try to hit all these points as best I can. There's no way in hell we should be sending money to any other country, particularly one that's starting a war with us, meaning Israel, to fund their military, to fund their schools, when we can't pay, Americans who are working in the capacity of TSA. There's no way in hell. And the money that they have at ICE, that was allocated to ICE, how about redirecting some of those funds to get people through this horrible time at TSA? It's all coming from the same bucket. It's just, guys, sometimes, and I appreciate everybody for giving me a little bit of a wider fairway, to use a golf term, or a bigger roadway, whatever you want to call it, because of how I approach covering certain things. But I see some things very simplistically, oftentimes, very common sense, like, how in the hell could we not? That's just so easy. It just is. We sometimes make it complicated, and we're all susceptible to that. But if the money is, it's not like we got to go talk to Uncle Johnny or Aunt Sarah to get the money to pay the folks at TSA. You understand that the Republicans have sat idly by and allowed money to be redirected by Trump to do other things that the money wasn't allocated for. And in some cases, money that has been allocated and hasn't been allocated, hasn't been dispersed or distributed. So you can't tell me that you can't pay TSA. So my conspiratory mind, lightly conspiratory mind, conspiracy mind, says that this was part of the plan all along, to have ICE be running TSA. Because you understand what TSA is designed to do, but it they have access to people traveling. coming in, going in and out of airports. So this was, in my opinion, somebody correct me if you think I'm crazy, this was always part of the plan, was to have ICE be in this role, because it allows them to do more than, help people get through the airport safely and all of us be able to keep, traveling safely. It was designed to put ICE agents in a role where they could then determine where people actually are. Because it's not about the money in this case. We got the money. Just, in terms of ICE's budget, reallocate a little bit to help people get through right now until the budget's passed. I mean, that's why I say, I know sometimes I oversimplify this stuff, but it's like, come on. This was part of the plan. And the other reason why I feel like this was part of the plan is that this still comes back to the conversation around our midterm elections. Because ICE takes a little bit of territory. They're in our cities, taking a little bit of territory. They're in our communities. Okay, so now they're at the airports and they're taking over the role of TSA. Next is the election. We have to see it that way, y'all. We have to be willing to look at it that way. This is not, ICE is going to step in and help out. This is ICE going to step in and take over. So I just ask everybody to stay plugged in this conversation. It's not just about what you see. Don't fall for the okie doke or for that shiny object. This is about ICE being able to have an influence and impact during our midterm elections. And I think this is baked into the sauce with Project 2025, is to have ICE be at airports so they can have easier access to who's traveling where, whether it be out of the country or into the country, or that's what I think has been part of this plan. So stay plugged into that, guys. This is only going to raise the temperature, in my opinion. So we'll keep you posted as best we can. This pause that I just read from Politico may be tied to the fact that the numbers are coming in pretty frightening. They're really coming in a frightening way. And what do I mean by that? Let me give you a couple of things that I got from A16Z News Media. And what am I talking about? We're talking about the things that are impacted by the Straits of Hormuz being blocked. And then as I talked about this in my article in Substack, the death toll that could happen with boots on the ground it's not going to be pretty. Our back end, as I mentioned last week, is going to be left open in terms of Asia, China, Korea. Crude oil right now, in terms of the percentage in terms of commodities and how they are routed through the Straits of Hormuz, 34.6% of our global supply goes through the Straits. Minerals at large, 22.4%. Fertilizers, another one that you've heard people talk about, 16.3%. Cement items, grains, oils, almost 12% combined. So these are basically seaborne commodities, not to get too far in the weeds, but these are seaborne commodities that their use throughout the world is dependent on them making their way through the Straits of Hormuz. And as we see that area has become more and more treacherous because Iran has said, just making it simple, no, the cost of all those items are going up every single day. So we'll see if this pause is real and what it means. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this is at the hands of Donald Trump. He's the one that's caused this. And then the cabinet, the administration, all GOP elected officials, and frankly, every GOP voter that's sitting idly by is the reason that it is in front of us right now. We are going to take a break. And when we come back after the 7 o'clock break, we'll be with our good friend Sarah Jones from PoliticusUSA. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT Replay.
The professor of political science and women's and gender studies at Brooklyn College and the Graduate Center of the City University of New York and author of Sex Is As Sex Does, Governing Transgender Identity. Yeah, Paisley Curra.
When we're talking about transgender, I know it's a very big blanket umbrella statement, but when we're in this subject matter, how will we define it?
When it comes to transgender athletes, the policies basically address the people's transition in relation to hormone levels, or the policies that the sports associations are addressing. The legislation that the Republicans have passed are just about whether someone is transgender or not, and that anybody who's transgender is just automatically, in much of this legislation, barred from participating. So the sports associations are have a much more sophisticated approach in terms of looking at making sure that that the policies are as inclusive as possible and no one has an unfair advantage.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Amazon Business empowers leaders with smart business buying tools, leaving time to focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. A pilot and co-pilot were killed when an Air Canada regional jet struck a fire truck on a runway while landing at New York's LaGuardia Airport late last night. Authorities say 39 passengers and crew members were taken to area hospitals, some with serious injuries. Most have since been released. 2 Port Authority employees who were traveling in the fire truck also suffered injuries that were not believed to be life-threatening. Iran today threatened to attack electrical plants in the Mideast, powering U.S. military bases. This came after President Trump Sunday morning warned that the U.S. would target Iranian power plants in 48 hours if the Strait of Hormuz remained closed. Meanwhile, AP correspondent Haya Pinjwani reports on oil prices as the Iran war continues.
Oil prices have been up more than 50% since the start of the Iran war. The price of Brent crude, the international standard, is at around $112 a barrel. That's up nearly 55% since Israel and the U.S. started the war with Iran on February 28th.
No country will be immune to the effects of this crisis.
Fatih Birol told Australia's National Press Club that the crisis in the Middle East has had a worse impact on energy markets than the 2 oil shocks of the 1970s and the Russia-Ukraine war combined.
There was major economic problems around the world, the recessions. And today, only as of today, we lost 11 million barrels per day.
The war has also caused wild fluctuations in global stock markets as traders grow increasingly concerned about a world energy crisis and other issues. I'm Haya Pinjwani.
The Supreme Court is hearing arguments today in a case from Mississippi over whether states can count late arriving mail ballots. This is AP News. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports on reactions in the United Kingdom after Jewish charity ambulances were set on fire in North London.
Police officers were called to Golders Green, a London neighbourhood with a large Jewish population, after receiving reports of ambulances on fire. On Monday morning, Prime Minister Keir Starmer condemned the incident as a deeply shocking anti-Semitic arson attack. Talking with the AP, local councillor Peter Zinkin says he's in no doubt that the attack was aimed at the area's large Jewish community.
The distress and anger of the local community, which I represent, as to what has happened. Burning ambulances in the middle of the night is a disgrace.
No one was injured, but as multiple gas cylinders on the vehicles had exploded, many windows in nearby homes shattered. I'm Charles.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high into the lower 40s. North winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low near 30. By Tuesday, partial sunshine develops, high 52 degrees. Wednesday, partly sunny skies, a high around 65. Thursday, chance for storms late, a high of 74. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 32.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. I didn't mean to oversimplify anything before the break in terms of talking about the situation with ICE and TSA, but I think it's pretty simple. This has been part of the plan all along. They can pay TSA. The money's, it's not that the money's not there. The money's there. It's in the budget. Not in the budget. It's in our coffers. Again, oversimplifying it. Give me some room there. But this has been part of the plan to have ICE be more of a tool, a deterrent during our midterm elections, by saying, well, we've got them here, now we're going to move them over here. And it becomes it becomes normalized. That's the word I was looking for. Like, okay, well, we've had them in your cities, and we've had them at your airports. Now we're going to have them at your voting locations, because we can. So call me crazy, but watch the bouncing ball. Someone that's got a few opinions about a few things and writes about it in a way that is inspiring, but certainly it gets your attention, is our good friend Sarah Jones from PoliticusUSA and The Daily with Sarah. Hey, good morning, Sarah. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. How are you?
Fired up.
I can tell. I liked your points about the TSA.
Am I crazy, Sarah? I mean, walk us through this. Walk us through this. What are your thoughts here?
You're never crazy. I think there's so much going on here, but I would like to point out that the ACLU has criticized this as a tool of fascism. So I think that makes the point that you're trying to make. It is the first time that armed ICE agents will be sent to airports to replace civilian security. And maybe that doesn't mean a lot to people unless you think about the fact that I remember traveling to other countries and being really surprised to see armed like military type armed guards at airports. And it is a tool of fear and a tool of suppression. And the other thing is that I'm not hearing enough about, I think, is not only, as the unions have pointed out, are these people not trained? You know, Donald Trump announced this, 2 days ago, and they're starting this morning at the Atlanta airport. Yep. I mean, they haven't been trained, right? And not only, so people might think, oh, so you're not trained to read the different IDs, because you're talking about IDs from all these different countries. There's a variety of different kinds of IDs. Not only are they not trained on that, though, which will lead to backlogs, I would imagine, but it also poses a security risk. Yeah. And I don't say that to scare people, right? But it's just the point that Donald Trump and the people that support him act like there is no training for a job. That's why they put somebody in charge of, determining vaccines who has no knowledge about that actual process and has no interest in learning about the evidentiary process behind vaccines. And this is the same thing, right? But it's and I think the vaccine thing is a threat to the American public, but so is this, because when you have people who aren't trained, they don't know what to look for, and they can't identify certainly they can't identify sophisticated threats. That is something that agents are trained on, and it takes a long time to learn how to identify those things. Just like any job. I mean, you take any job, it doesn't matter if you're working at Burger King, punching numbers into the little, I remember working my first job at a fast food place, and it took a while to learn, where everything is on the keyboard. Like it just takes time. Any job takes time to get acclimated to. And certainly a job where you are literally, your job is to be responsible for security of the airport, and for travelers. So I think it's such a bad idea, and it's being implemented the way Donald Trump does everything, which is without any planning, without any thought, and without any respect for the idea that these jobs actually matter. Yeah. People are doing a job for a reason. That, the way he gutted the entire government, acting like nobody does anything of any worth. And then every time he runs into a wall that he created himself, then he starts, we just got to fix this. We'll just throw money at it. Because he's spending our money, right? Yeah. So there's always money. Like, like Pete Hegseth said about Iran. I mean, I'm still sitting here absolutely stunned that he said, the problem with Iran is it spends money on weapons and missiles instead of improving the lives of their people. I'm sorry, which country are you talking about? And I'm not trying to compare. There is a vast difference between, no matter how horrible things are under Donald Trump, there's a vast difference between this country and Iran. But that criticism can definitely be aimed at this country. And given the fact that, the Trump brothers are making millions off of this war through their drone investments. Yeah. And the Pentagon has failed audits for the last, 8 years. We know they're just giving money. This is a way for all of his little in-group to make money.
It's so, the insidious part of this, let me not go there. Let me come back to something that you said a moment ago about Donald Trump's way of operating. I was thinking about this when you were going through the lack of preparation, the lack of understanding, the lack of training of the people that are now going to be doing something that's incredible, has become important. Let's just call it what it is. Since 9/11, we've all been, our brains have been rewired to think that, we've got to spend all this money to make sure that people don't don't travel in a way that's going to be harmful to us. I'm trying to figure out the best way of saying that. Okay, so we have this organization, TSA, under the Department of Homeland Security, that is, frankly, in my opinion, not needed. We could redirect and redeploy those resources, people and money resources to do better things to make traveling more safe. But that's another conversation. Donald,
or is it? Because that you're really getting to the fact that I keep trying to get people to understand this is not new. Yeah. Right? This whole move towards fascism and towards this, or neo-fascism, whatever you want to call it, but this militarization of our country, a lot of this really ramped up under Bush. Yeah, and that, that's when the Department of Homeland Security was created.
Yep. Let us not forget. No, you're right, Sarah. Yeah. Thank you for bringing us back to that, because at the same time, the word that you've mentioned a couple times, and I can't leave this on the sideline, is militarization, because our police forces in cities became more militarized after the creation of the Department of Homeland Security under the Bush administration. That's a fact. Right. For those of you who don't know that, look it up. That being said, to Sarah's point a moment ago about militarization and lacking in training, which then turns into a greater security risk, is that all the things that could happen from ICE being at the airports, there's nothing positive. Of all the things that are going to come out of this, there's nothing that I can see that's positive. It's going to tie up traffic. It's going to have people confused. It's going to create a certain amount of hesitancy, and people are going to go to the airports feeling like, oh my gosh, if I don't have the right thing. It was one thing with TSA running the show, but now ICE. And what if that person's brown skin? What if that person's, not brown skin, but speaks a language that's not English is not their first language, and suddenly you got an ICE agent that can't navigate the technology to get that person through quickly, and then they can't understand. It's just such a cluster F that's coming.
But they, Trump has already said that the ICE agents will specifically target all illegal immigrants with a heavy emphasis on those from Somalia, which is racial profiling, and that is political retribution. This is what he's all about. And so to your point about him deploying the ICE agents for political purposes, that's exactly what this is. It's theater. It's not going to accomplish anything good. It's going to get him what he will use probably for ads for the midterms.
Sarah, I'm not cutting you off disrespectfully. No. Somebody's going to get shot. I'm just going to call it as it. Somebody's going to get roughed up at the airport. Somebody may end up getting shot by ICE. This is going to happen. It's going to happen at an airport. And heaven help us if it's someone traveling from another country that is, for lack of better words, a non-brown country. And that happens. Let's see how that impacts how the world views us then. When somebody from Iceland gets shot at an American airport because an ICE agent didn't understand that person's language or whatever the case may be. I'm just going to go there. I'm sorry.
No, and I mean, these people are, it's not hyperbole to suggest that is a probable outcome of this. We've already seen what happens. We have also seen the way they are primed and prepped for violence and unprovoked violence. These are too many of these people. I'm not saying they're all this way, but specifically those who joined under this push under Donald Trump, they haven't been vetted properly, and there seems to be this through line, and we see it in these videos that people take. These guys are like that kind of a petulant grade school kind of mentality, bully. And so they're out there looking for fights, and they're armed, and they want to abuse women and grab them and humiliate them. And they want to harm men who are betraying what they see as their cause.
Yeah.
And that is not the mentality that you want with any kind of law enforcement. But to the larger point, law enforcement really did that push to militarize it really grew under Bush. I mean, we've always struggled with that, and law enforcement has been used in this country for racial abuse, right?
Always.
I mean, that was what it was designed for in many ways originally. So, and if you think about the KKK, like that.
And slave catchers. I mean,
slave catchers, exactly.
Go ahead, Sarah. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not. That's absolutely. So if you think about that evolution, right, of what law enforcement came from, and what there are good law enforcement agencies out there, and there are good police agencies when they are being headed by people with policies designed to mitigate those factors. They can never erase them, but to mitigate them, to be aware of them, and to work so that they aren't prevailing, right? That's the goal. That does happen, but it is not universal. And I would say it's not even the majority, unfortunately. I mean, I think that Afro Man case, right? I am still laughing about that because oh my God, those police were not, they didn't see that coming. Oh boy.
All right, so let me do this. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking to Sarah Jones, our good friend from PoliticusUSA and the Daily with Sarah Jones. Sarah, okay, I debated last week how much do I want to talk about Afro Man. So I'm going to let...
So good.
Because I don't have my afro like I had back in the 70s, but I did have one. However, I'm not. I did. And the pictures have been burned and shredded. So
no,
you can't.
I love his whole thing that he had going on.
You take the baton and roll this into this conversation around unvetted, untrained lawlessness and what happened in this story with Afro Man. Let's let you take that baton.
Well, okay, because I think that for me, anyway, and I think a lot of people watching, this was this moment where justice came. And here were these police officers who raided this man's home based on a tip that appears to have been a bad tip because they said he had people kidnapped there and he was doing some kind of trafficking. And they found nothing. And they destroyed parts of his home. And he had all this video camera footage of all of this stuff. And so he put that, he put clips of their raid on this rap song. Or it wasn't a rap song, I guess. But I think that argument was used in court that rap music is often like a diss track kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so what was it? It was actually to battle him of the Republic or something. He said it to
police whistleblower is what they're calling it. Yes.
Oh, I love that. And so what I thought stood out to me was these police sued him for defamation and false light invasion of privacy. And because they invaded his home, and you really could kind of see that they were modeling themselves after ICE, right? It was like this, we're taking care of this lawless, we're going to come in here with guns drawn, we're doing this, we're doing that. And then he just mocked them. Yeah. And this little bit of humor that he used against them, I especially liked his, the lemon pound cake, like Mama's lemon pound cake. Yeah, that he's saying like this officer wanted that. He wanted to put his Glock down and get this lemon pound cake. This stood out to me because it was like that's what art does against fascism. And it worked. Yeah. Because they were humiliated, and that's why they're so angry. And in court, like the way they were crying about these, it's like, you guys are crying about being mocked, but you're fine with breaking into someone's home with your guns drawn. And you didn't think that, and you've destroyed parts of his home, and you're not paying for that destruction. Like you feel entitled to do that. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to be even mocked for it. You think that you're entitled to not even face any backlash. And I think that's part of like, we see that on the right? It's just so prevalent. Their whole, this whole thing. I mean, this is what they call free speech, is that nobody can say anything that makes them feel bad or makes fun of them, but they can say the most hateful things. That's what this was, yeah.
And Sarah, what's so interesting about the how you merged that together with regard to the GOP and all is that snowflake, the left, excuse me, being weak, blah blah blah. But ultimately, it's the moment that you stand up and push back to anything that comes from the right, and I do mean anything, the first thing they want to do is get violent. And that's kind of where my concern goes with regard to ICE being at airports. It is going to look like a militarized zone that people are just trying to travel and go and see, grandma or go vacation with their families. I mean, this is the part that's just, it's heartbreaking in advance for me. It's a family that's getting ready to go away on vacation. Mom, dad, and 3 kids. I mean, let's just use the stereotypical American look. Mom, dad, and 3 kids getting ready to go away on vacation. You got 3 kids under the age of 15 getting ready to go away on spring break or wherever. And the littlest of them is freaked out and crying because he or she is seeing a couple of guys walk past them with all this gear on, and is traumatized because they saw their older sibling playing Call of Duty or some other video game and people just getting, bludgeoned. And that image is still in that young child's mind of seeing this video that their older sibling was playing. And now they're traumatized at the airport because they see these fools walking around all zooted and booted, or booted and zooted. And then they start screaming and yelling uncontrollably because they're having a PTSD moment. I mean, again, I can oversimplify something to the nth degree, but that's where we're headed with this. And so there's
no, I don't think that. I think first of all, it is a skill to simplify things so that people can understand how it impacts their daily life, and that's something that I think the political world and journalists struggle with all the time. So that is actually a skill, and that's one thing that Rachel Maddow has done so well. That was something that, I mean, she really brought that to the forefront, and then I would say Lawrence O'Donnell also does that so well. And so that is something that it's good that you can do that, because what you're doing is showing how this translates to daily life. And I think that's the one of the keys that's been missing. And I did think that came through for me in the Afro Man thing. And I also wanted to ask you, not to be changing the subject, but because I know that our time is winding up soon. You know, when I saw, I'm sure you've talked about this, Pritzker's Project 2029. Mm-hmm. And for me, this is really key. So because we're looking at now, just to tie this, go back to the Epstein files for a moment. And, you know, one of the things, there's now this new look and new investigation into Epstein's alleged suicide, which is looking less and less like a suicide now, given the new evidence that's come forward. Or that's been uncovered, I should say. And so there's something in there that concerned me, because sure, the Trump administration, when they were in power, they were like, oh no, everything was fine here, close the book. But then also Garland did the same thing when it was brought up again under Biden. And I saw people online saying like, oh, you know, see, both parties are the same. And I was over here going, but you know, Garland is a Republican. Now, so why are Democrats? I think this is something that people need to be thinking about in terms of the 2028 election. Not to jump too far in advance, but I mean, if we're going to address these issues finally at long last, because all of this has been brushed under the rug from the Bush administration, and he started this attack on the DOJ. And I never forgot that. Like, he just started putting all these, he replaced these lifetime careerists who are supposed to be non-political with really partisan people. And so we need people who are willing to take that on. Why are Democrats always installing a Republican in law enforcement positions, right? Because that's not what we need. Well, I'm sorry to say this, but these Republicans, they have had their moment. They've had every opportunity to do the right thing, and they have failed. They are not good at law enforcement. And right now, and I'm not saying it's forever, but right now, they have completely failed. They refuse to hold powerful people accountable. They don't do what needs to be done to protect this country and protect the people in it. And so I hope we get a Democrat running for office who is willing to not install a Republican into these positions. Again, that is a failed plan. Well, that is a strategy. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no. The connection here that I think we want to try to make is, and I was asked this question by a gentleman this weekend that asked me who's going to be the person, and I said that we should caution ourselves about that. Because I don't want us to put ourselves in a situation where we're waiting for a man or a woman to be the one to ride in on the white horse. I think we collectively have to bring all of our energy to this conversation so that people don't feel like they've been left out, and then that person or persons will emerge. Now, that being said, the link to what you just said about this and J.B. Pritzker is, for those of you who don't know what Sarah's talking about, Project 2029 is what he feels is an agenda that we should be creating for Democrats to run on and to platform on. And one of the top areas is criminal and civil prosecution of Trump administration officials and federal agents and all the rest that have broken the law. That's what J.B. Pritzker has been talking about, and that's what Sarah was somewhat referencing. We don't need help from Republicans. I mean, listen, Some people may disagree with this, and I respect that you do. We don't need help from Republicans in running things. It's okay to have the Republicans who may have called themselves moderate move to the left from a voting standpoint to make change politically and who's elected. But we sure as hell do not, to Sarah's point, need any more Republicans in any positions of leadership to make Republicans feel good about voting for Democrats. No. We need Democrats who are competent. We need attorneys generals like Eric Holder and others who are going to get stuff done, not lightweight, middle of the road Democrats.
Okay.
But we need people that are going to bring the hammer, not just in law enforcement or in civil and criminal prosecution. But that's I'm interpreting a little bit of what
that's
you say.
exactly what I'm saying. Listen, I want Jasmine Crockett for Attorney General, and that is something I'm holding in my vision board for 2028. Or rather, that would be 2029. But that's what I think she would bring the exact energy that we need right now. And the thing is, it's not that I'm all for bipartisanship, and I'm all for the idea of having Republicans serving in a Democratic administration in previous times was high-minded.
It was okay.
It was okay. It never worked out, though, I would say, and they've never returned. They have not returned that favor, by the way. Like, how come that is not? So if people aren't, if any relationship, if people aren't reciprocal, why do you continue? Don't continue to give space to people and give them power if they are not giving you power. And but also the other thing is for Democrats, like the Democratic Party has, I'm sorry not to bag on them, but they have really disappointed their base. And when people vote for you, you need to give them what they asked for. Yeah. They didn't ask for this milquetoast, like, oh, let's brush everything under the rug and just do everything this way and give poor Donald Trump, the rich white man's a version of justice. That is not what people voted for. And I'm telling you, people are sick and tired of that. And they are sick and tired of it from both parties.
This is that both sides do it moment. And Sarah, listen, I think the Democrat, and I just got a text from our good friend Kurt Herner in Akron, Ohio, who said, the Democratic primaries are going to pick who are candidates. That's just how it's going to play out. But I will say that the Democratic candidate that runs, and if we go over a little bit, guys, we got some flexibility here this morning, Sarah. The Democratic candidates, plural, that run, all of them need to say something along these lines. And the one that says it and says it the most and sticks behind it, that I am, as president, going to go after criminal behavior by Republicans in this current administration. The person that says that and stands behind it and means it is the one that's going to get a lot of attention from people. They're going to get a lot of hits from the right, but we don't give a damn. We want people on the left to be able to hear a candidate say, I'm coming after lawlessness that has taken place during these last 4 years, and also be willing to say, here's what the Republican Party has done to hurt the country and the world. We're coming in to fix that stuff. Those are the kinds of things that I know that the Democrats need to hear. It's a question is who's going to be the one step to the mic to say they're going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, if you think about when I look at, and there's all this chatter about 2028 and who's going to be the candidate. And then, there's nothing that the left loves to do more than sabotage itself. So then it becomes like, here's what's wrong with this person. Here's what's wrong with this person. And I keep
saw
thinking,
it on Saturday.
Oh my God.
I saw what person did that. I was like, when are we going to stop doing that stuff? Sorry, Sarah.
Yeah, that's just no, please. This is so undermining. It's self-sabotage, and it has to stop, because everyone, what the left is and the Democratic Party is a coalition of a bunch of different factions. And this is what made it more powerful for a long time.
It expanded our reach. It expanded our reach because we had all
Big Tent.
Different, because we were able to reach more people who were certainly not going to be appealing to or catch the appeal of the Republican Party. So,
and the other thing is that just brought me back to something else I wanted to say. My thought about appealing to Republicans, which Democrats are always trying to do, and the United States media really tries to push Democrats to do, but they never push Republicans to do the opposite.
Nope.
It's very curious. But my thing about this is if there's a Republican voter, if there's a Republican lawmaker who really thinks that what they're doing is wrong, you shouldn't need to appeal to them. I don't want to sit here and soften the stance of the Democratic Party. I mean, I'm not in charge of the Democratic Party, so I'm not, this is not coming from insider baseball. This is me looking from the outside. Why would you soften your stance on human rights, soften your stance on on law enforcement against corrupt criminals that have been running this country? Why would you soften that to appeal to people?
Yeah.
They either see what's right and are willing to do what's right, or they don't.
We got to end on that, Sarah, because I know you and I could keep going, and which is one of the things that we'll have to look at doing. But
we keep saying, I know.
All right.
Yeah.
Sarah Jones, y'all. Politicus USA and the Daily with Sarah. You got to get her stuff. I mean, I got so much to talk with Sarah about, but today has been great. And I appreciate you taking some time to hang out with us this morning. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We've been talking with Sarah Jones. Thanks for being with us this morning, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. After working several odd jobs in New York City, Henry Johnson found his way into the National Guard during World War I. Johnson was assigned to the 369th Infantry Regiment, but the all-black unit was better known as the Harlem Hellfighters. The Hellfighters' first task was assisting the French Fourth Army. On May 15, 1918, Hellfighter Johnson noticed Germans attempting to break in. Johnson retreated to get backup from the French troops, noticing German soldiers were attempting to kidnap another Hellfighter. Despite standing at only 5'4", Johnson sprung into action. With only 3 bullets and a bolo knife, Johnson was able to kill 4 enemy soldiers and wounded 21 others, causing them to retreat, saving himself and his men. However, Johnson received a total of 21 injuries all over his body, including his left foot being shattered. Johnson was discharged, and his papers did not show his heroism or his injury, leaving him unable to receive any disability compensation, leaving Johnson penniless at the time of his death at age 36. Johnson's heroism went unnoticed for decades until President Barack Obama awarded him the Medal of Honor in 2015.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, "I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be." We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time, my answer is always the same. Now is the best time, while it is on your mind. Being able to tell your family that you have an estate plan in place, that all the details have been taken care of, will be a great relief to both yourself and those you care for the most. Our initial consultation is without charge, and there is no obligation. My phone number is 847-996-0496, and my website is moretlawoffice.com, spelled M-O-R-E-E. I look forward to speaking with you.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high into the lower 40s. North winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low near 30. By Tuesday, partial sunshine develops, high 52 degrees. Wednesday, partly sunny skies, a high around 65. Thursday, chance for storms late, a high of 74. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 32.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Richard Chu's got his eyes on the truth. And you're right where you need to be. This is Chu's Views.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks to Sarah for being with us, Sarah Jones from Politicus USA and the Daily with Sarah Jones. So I got a bunch of text messages. First and foremost, I'll make this as plain as I can regarding what Sarah and I were saying about Democrats needing to do things a little bit more forcefully. Yeah, we do. We can't take, going back to the earlier part of the show, we don't need to be walking with Republican talking points. And we don't need to be acquiescing on anything that we believe in and bringing Republicans into the administrations in the future. No, we need the talented Democratic pool on all cabinet positions and all parts of the administration. We don't need to be messing around with Republicans anymore. And even the moderate ones, if they're not the most talented person and we're skipping over a Democrat to get to them to make Republicans happy, that's a fool's game anymore. We've seen that. Merrick Garland wasn't a bad person, but he wasn't effective enough and hardcore enough. And in some cases, Eric Holder was a little bit lighter than we would have needed when it came to prosecuting Bush and Cheney. So I hear all the text. I hear the text. I appreciate the text, and I hear what you're saying in that. But ultimately, this is the position that I'm taking. We as Democrats have to stop using Republican talking points to try to bridge the gap, to try to talk to Republicans that ultimately, they're going to stab and stab us anyhow politically. We don't need to do that anymore. Those days are over. So just wanted to kind of clean that all up on aisle 7 to make sure that everybody understood that I get the point and I get your message. And people are saying we need more of Sarah on the show. So there you go. I agree with that. She brings it. She's good. She's like me in the sense that we want to talk about the things that are hard to talk about. But there's a lot of voices out there that are doing that. And one of them is right here as part of our WCPT team. And you guys heard her voice. You heard her name a lot over the last few weeks. But you heard her voice during our election coverage because she was one of the Cub reporters on the scene. And that's none other than our own Whitney Randall, who is a U.S. Navy veteran, producer. She's one of our interns here at WCPT, does her own version of storytelling. But in this time where we are dealing with the military that's being used like pawns, both domestically and internationally, I wanted to chat with Whitney a little bit this morning about how she sees the world in that space. Good morning, Whitney, and welcome to this side of the microphone when it comes to our being on the show.
Good morning, Mr. Chu. Thank you for having me on this side.
Absolutely.
This is interesting. I'm usually, making the volumes go up and down, so this is fun. Honestly, right now we're in a very perplexing time. We're in a very difficult time. Like you said, watching all of our service members kind of be used for personal gain. Mm-hmm. It completely stands against everything that anyone who swore themselves in stands for, actually.
So I have a number of questions, and I'll try to keep it tight. So if I ask you the question, how does it make you feel, but also how do you deal with knowing that there are people that you may have served with that are still active duty that are being put in positions like they have been? And I'll give you the quick laundry list. Mm-hmm. Having to be a military force in a U.S. city, i.e. Los Angeles, in terms of that deployment. Having to be in cities to navigate what local law enforcement has been documented to be able to handle. Talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to come back with a few other questions in that space. But how does it make you feel when you see that that's going on right now, as a veteran?
As a veteran, how does it make me feel? That's a very big question. And to make it simple, it's infuriating. It's very, very infuriating. I do have friends that are still in service. The father of my children is still in service, and they are being moved. They are being moved around, going on deployments that are purely based on gain. They're not being used to the full efficiency for what the military is designed for. We aren't designed to be here. The Coast Guard is, but nobody else is. Yeah. And in actuality, it's not going to help anything because the troops are not trained to de-escalate. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand. The only people in the military that are trained to de-escalate a situation are the military police. And that's very, very few. That's a specific job in the military. So what we are trained to do is we're trained to neutralize. We're trained to take people out. We are not trained to sit down and have a talk. That's not what this is. We're not trained to pass the sharing stick around and give everybody a voice. We're trained to silence things. And so it's alarming. It's frightening to know that our troops are being used in a way that they were never meant for. And there are actually laws put in place to make sure that they're not being used in that way. So that's very, very frustrating. I feel a lot of empathy for my brothers and sisters in arms right now because they're being conflicted with how do I go to work? How do I go to work knowing that part of the government is shut down right now, knowing that I'm going to go and essentially confront the very people that they signed up to protect.
Wow. I have to take a deep breath on that one because what you guys didn't see if you're listening is how Whitney worked her way through that, saying that. And the fact that she saw, I could tell you could see your colleagues, your former colleagues, your former brothers and sisters in arms having to make that decision as they go about their day, that the people that they signed up to protect, they are now put in a position where they may inadvertently or however it may happen, do something that could cause them harm. And that's got to touch us all. And so, as you guys know, what I try to do on the show is find ways to take action toward the things that we are fighting against and dealing with. And so in this case, in this space right now, Whitney, what do you think, or what would you want everyday folks to be doing in terms of taking action to push back against what this administration is doing, trying to do when it comes to our military deployment? And then we'll get into talking about Iran.
What would I want our everyday people to be doing to help and to help support not only the troops, but also themselves? So our nation is founded on the principle of the right to be able to defend yourself, the right to be able to speak your truth. I fought for those freedoms. I fought for those rights. And I would encourage every single American that believes in those rights to start speaking up. The only person who can silence anyone is themselves, ultimately. And so I would just implore the American people to begin actually calling out the danger that they see, begin using their voice. And it doesn't matter if your voice is big, small, on a radio or not. You can make change at your dining room table with simply educating each other, simply actually discussing hey, this is how this is impacting our country. And these are the laws that we can start voting for so that way we can change it. Our voices are the biggest commodity that we have because there's really no price tag on our voice, especially if you're speaking in truth. There are 3 core values that are ingrained in me from the military, and it's honor, courage, and commitment. And to have the self-honor and the honor in your country to go, hey, this is wrong, and to speak out about it, to have the courage to look at people you love, because this is a huge part of it, is that, there are people that we admire, people that we look up to, people that are in positions of power, and there is a level of fear to speak up, especially when you care. But breaking that silence is a form of courage. And then double down. Once you speak that truth, once it gets out there, commit to it.
Yeah.
Commit to it. Don't turn back around. Don't sidestep, okay? We need you to stand firm on what you believe in. And if you believe in our right to bear arms, if you believe in our right to freedom of speech, if you believe in our right to be able to have a democracy, not a dictatorship, but a democracy, it's time to speak up and it's time to use your voice.
And with that, we're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Whitney Randall, one of our own here at WCPT. We'll be right back.
Is your upper floor too hot in the summer? Are energy bills climbing with every degree? Green Attic can help. With over 15 years of experience and more than 1,000 five-star reviews, Green Attic is a trusted Chicagoland name for insulation, ventilation, and roofing solutions that improve comfort, energy efficiency, and indoor air quality. They specialize in attic insulation, spray foam, crawl space encapsulation, mold remediation, and solar attic fan installation, all designed to keep your home cooler in the warmer months. Green Attic also offers full-service roofing through Green Attic Roofing, including traditional and solar roofing systems with instant online quotes and long-lasting, eco-friendly materials. Green Attic backs its work with the industry's only 10-year labor warranty, plus lifetime warranties on selected materials. Schedule a free installation consultation at greenattic.com or get an instant roofing quote at greenatticroofing.com. That's greenattic.com and greenatticroofing.com.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. Whitney Randall, U.S. Navy veteran, and also one of our team here at WCPT, talking about her experiences in the military and since being in the military, and observations she's been making about the deployment of military men and women on the streets of the United States of America. Now, ICE is going to be at the airports, and that leads to a whole myriad of things that are problematic. And ICE is not the military, but they're viewed as military-esque. Give us your thoughts there.
Well, they're militant in strategy. They may not bear, the actual name, but that's how they're behaving. And ICE, as an entity, is kind of behaving in a way as if, well, Trump is giving them a little bit more power than the military, actually.
A lot of people don't really realize that.
Yeah, it's a lot more power in place there. And honestly, it kind of reminds me of North Korea. I've had the privilege of one of my deployments. I got to go to Korea, and I got to go to the wall, and I got to see the lineup of all of the military personnel, and it's scary. It's very intimidating. But I'm starting to kind of see similarities there, how with ICE being positioned in those places, it's a tactic to create fear. It is a tactic to kind of bully one's presence without physically being there. But it's also so unfair. Like right now, the government shutdown, this is one of the longest that we've had in a very long time. And those TSA agents are not being paid. So the reason why, quote unquote, that Trump is sending them there is, it's a staffing issue. So let's get ICE in there. But if you paid your TSA, there would be no shortage.
Right.
We don't need ICE there. We need to pay our American people the wages that they deserve.
Yep.
And so ultimately, it's another one of his reach rounds. That's all that it is there.
Lack of planning.
Exactly.
Now we'll just throw something at it in this moment. And then, then the next thing, somebody's going to get improperly treated, hurt, and God forbid, killed at an airport by an ICE agent. And then there will be another, Trump will dodge the bullet because the GOP doesn't want to do a doggone thing to call him out for his behavior, and they have the levers of power. So even the TSA situation that they're trying to blame on the Democrats is ultimately at the hands of the GOP.
Exactly.
And it's not the Democrats' fault. Nobody's in their right mind, and that's the key thing. In their right mind is going to go, this is the Democrats' fault.
I mean, at the end of the day, so the Democratic Party still answers to Trump. And I think that this is something people don't understand. We have our party, but we still have to answer to the man that's in charge.
Yeah.
And this man that's in charge is setting policies, procedures, people into place, ultimately in a way that looks like he's trying to stay in power.
Yeah, without a doubt. There's no question there. I think that we can't. One of the greatest things about being an American is that we sometimes can live in this. Well, I say this as carefully as I can, and nobody take offense to this. I think oftentimes we can live in our own sort of, private silo of everything's okay, and we don't have to deal with that. That's one of the beauties of being an American. Mm-hmm. It comes at a cost, though, because it does separate us from the things that are causing other people, other scenarios, to not get looked at and addressed. That is an American privilege that sometimes we forget the cost of the other side of that. And I think right now we're at that on such a high level. And the pushback has been that a lot of people are saying, you aren't listening to me, you aren't hearing me. And because of that, I'm not going to do anything because you haven't been doing anything to hear me. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And I think that that's also the opportunity for the Democratic Party to say, yeah, not only do we hear you, but we're going to do something about it. And that's what I was saying earlier about we have to be willing to put people in office that are going to drop the hammer and say, I'm running on this. Mm-hmm. I think it's one of the things that helped Juliana Stratton win the Senate primary. Is she stood on business. Not to say that the other two candidates didn't, because they did in their way, but she did it in a way that was really unapologetic. And I think Jasmine Crockett would be is that same voice, and there's so many others. But that's what the Democratic Party is begging for. I mean, the Democratic constituency of the party is begging for is people that are going to are willing to say those things out loud publicly rather than being mealy-mouthed about it at this point.
And I agree. And I do see more of the speaking up coming from the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. As a citizen, as an American, as a veteran, I am a little disappointed in the Republican Party. I am, because they're rolling over, if that makes sense. But going back to Miss Julia Stratton, like you were saying, she really exemplified those core values: the honor, the courage, the commitment, the ability to, like you said, double down and hold. Mm-hmm. We need people like her. We need, in large quantities would be preferable. Let's hurry up and get all of that hoopla out
and get those folks in the position.
Yes.
So let's, as we kind of wrap up, let's just take a minute to chat about your observations. You've heard me talk about it the last week and a half, but your observations around troops being deployed on the ground in Iran.
So it's a strategy for resources. It is a strategy for gain. It's a waste of our tax dollars. We don't need to be there. I have been on several deployments, and for reference, I joined the military in 2012. Okay, so that's a lot of deployments. Our government is shut down, but we have our troops, our men and women who are mothers, fathers, out on soil for oil. There could potentially be a child that has to grow up without a mom or a dad because of gain, because of greed at the end of the day. So it's very infuriating because there's no real reason to have boots on ground at the moment. There is no real reason for it other than intimidation. Mm-hmm. It, to me, honestly, seems like a huge intimidation and just push for more resources.
Yeah. So what are some of the bright spots for you right now with the work that you're doing? You've been a great team member as part of WCPT. And talk a little bit about some of the other things that you're doing that are trying to change the narrative a little bit.
Yes. So I am the owner of Yes and Adventures, and every quarter we host a comedy show and charity event. What we do is the next one coming up is May 9th, And it is an event to help stop soldier suicide. With all the boots on ground, with everything that's going on, our veterans, we've been through some stuff, we've seen some stuff, and we need help. And so I developed a community that gives back. We do it through comedy. We do it through improv with happiness. People are able to even sponsor a family. You can sponsor a veteran and their children to learn improv, to learn stage presence, acting, persona, all of that. And what it does is it teaches confidence building. It teaches closeness, and it just fosters a community. So I'm really, really excited to have created a space for our veterans to be able to come, be able to mingle, share, and to be honored for all of the sacrifices that they make. So,
Kudos to you, Whitney, for hanging out this morning on the other side of the mic and the other side of the board, but also to share your observations about our military and what you believe and see, but also the work that you're doing to make sure that they're taken care of on the backside of this commitment that they've made to our country. So thanks, Whitney Randall, for being with us this morning.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right, guys, there you go. Kudos again to Whitney. Kudos to Sarah Jones from the Politicus USA and the Daily, Sarah. And thanks you guys for hanging out with us. Thanks to Mike. Thanks to Devin, as always. Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And remember to take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Politicus one, coming to you from the file room of the basement of WCPT 820 in Chicago. Checking the file on the sports cubicle. The hosts, systems analyst Mike Mercado, project manager Devin Tingle, the marvelous one, Dan Marver in accounting, and me, well, it doesn't matter what I do. You can check us out, the sports cubicle, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Central on WCPT 820 Chicago. Gotta go, sports cubicle, 9 p.m. Sundays, WCPT.
Stephanie Miller here. If eating is stressing you out, you're not alone. There's so much confusion around food. One day something's good for you, the next day it's not. No wonder digestion can feel chaotic. What I learned from the Tummy Whisperer is reassuring your body isn't broken, it's communicating. It needs proper guidance. That's why I trust Renee Barish at Digestive Health Solutions as a certified digestive health specialist. Renee works one-to-one, helping people make sense of their symptoms without extremes or overwhelming them. If you've changed your diet and feel the same or worse, if bloating, reflux, constipation, diarrhea, and low energy are running your life, Renee will help you connect the dots. Digestion will calm down, food can feel easy again, and you don't have to figure it all out alone. You've got the Tummy Whisperer. Learn more at thetummywhisperer.com or call Renee at 847-207-2034. One more time, that's 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better.
From posters and presentations to labels and loyalty cards, Staples has all the print to boost your brand. Shop now, in-store and online. Staples, that was easy.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. New York's LaGuardia Airport will remain closed until at least 2 p.m. this afternoon as the National Transportation Safety Board investigates a crash that happened last night. A pilot and co-pilot aboard an Air Canada regional jet were killed after the aircraft struck a fire truck on the runway. Here's Port Authority Executive Director Catherine Garcia.
At approximately 11:40 last night, Air Canada Flight 8646, operated by Jazz, collided with the Port Authority Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting Vehicle on runway 4. The plane carried 72 passengers and 4 crew.
Audio courtesy WABC TV. 40 passengers and crew members were taken to area hospitals, some with serious injuries. Most have since been released. 2 Port Authority employees who were traveling in the fire truck also suffered injuries that were not believed to be life-threatening. President Trump has extended his deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, saying the U.S. will hold off on power plant strikes for 5 days. Trump made the announcement on his Truth Social site hours ahead of a deadline. He added that the U.S. and Iran have had, quote, very good and productive conversations that could yield a complete and total resolution in the war. Two Iranian semi-official news agencies close to the paramilitary Revolutionary Guard claimed there had been no negotiations with Washington as described by Trump. The Fars and Tasnim news agencies instead portrayed Trump as backing down because of Iran's threats. In other news, the Supreme Court is hearing arguments this morning over whether states can continue to count late arriving mail ballots. A final ruling will almost certainly come by late June. More information at apnews.com. This is AP News.
AP Sports, I'm Gethin Coolbaugh. Defending champion Florida became the first #1 seed to lose in this year's NCAA tournament following a 73-72 second-round upset win by 9th-seeded Iowa. Alvaro Folgueras hit a go-ahead three-pointer with 4.5 seconds left for coach Ben McCollum's team.
Didn't hit anything but net, and it was surreal. It was like, oh my gosh, he just made that.
5th-seeded St. John's is also headed to its first Sweet 16 since 1999 after Dylan Darling's buzzer-beating layup to upset 4th-seeded Kansas 67-65. In the women's bracket, Amaya Battle's last-second jumper helped 4th-seeded Minnesota reach the Sweet 16 with a 65-63 upset of 5th-seeded Ole Miss. In golf, Matt Fitzpatrick's 15-foot birdie putt capped a bogey-free round to win the Valspar Championship, and Tyler Reddick won at Darlington for his 4th NASCAR victory.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high into the lower 40s. North winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low near 30. By Tuesday, partial sunshine develops, high 52 degrees. Wednesday, partly sunny skies, a high around 65. Thursday, chance for storms late, a high of 74. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 32.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Last year, Mitch, 50, railroad worker, income 100 G's a year, score 630, called to consolidate his debt with a cash-out refinance. Team Hochberg loan officer Johnny Hendrickson helped Mitch pay off his debt and save $800 a month. Johnny called Mitch for a 6-month post-closing checkup and informed him his credit score was now over 700. Then Johnny helped Mitch lower his rate, remove the PMI, and save him another $400 a month while covering all his closing costs. Let's review. Team Hochberg loan officer Johnny Hendrickson helped Mitch eliminate his debt, save $1,200 a month, and improve his scores over 100 points. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or visit that website you know you love, 56david.com.
Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 643114.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First, drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said,
if it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips. Because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Would it be crazy if you packed your bags and left? For a week, a month, a year. What if you left for 2 years? What if you were going far away to help in a village on the edge of the Gobi Desert? To teach children and learn a thing or two about yourself? Would that be crazy? Peace Corps. Life is calling. How far will you go?
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's Progressive Talk from TuneIn.
You do not determine who in the is going to be successful in this country, because you are a model for the theory that a fat, stupid sack of can get elected president, because that's what you are, fat, stupid sack of I love that I have dyslexia. I love I have a short attention span. The only thing that I've ever been able to concentrate on in my whole life is how much I hate you.
Oh, my.
Gotta say, don't always agree with him. James Carville channeling all of us this morning. Chris, I have a question. Must he ruin every weekend of our lives?
Yes.
I'm going with, I just told a friend this morning my theory that, Bella, are you with me? Did we all die during COVID? Is this hell? Are we actually in hell?
It might be.
Oh, see? Your microphone isn't working. Also, our printer is completely, because I had to print my sister's boarding pass because she's the only human in the world that